This is the Untold Italy travel podcast, and you're listening to episode number 224.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti to Untold Italy, the travel podcast where you go to the towns and villages, mountains and lakes, hills and coastlines of Bella Italia. Each week, your host, Katy Clarke, takes you on a journey in search of magical landscapes, history, culture, wine, gelato, and of course, a whole lot of pasta. If you're dreaming of Italy and planning future adventures there, you've come to the right place.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti. Welcome to your regular dose of Italian dreaming. Summer is just about to get started for all of you in the Northern Hemisphere, so I thought we'd take another trip to one of our favourite regions in Italy, Puglia, for a virtual wander around beautiful Bari, the region's capital. Bari is a port city on Italy's Adriatic coast, and it's also a stop for cruise ships going to and from Croatia and Greece. It's a vibrant place with elegant boulevards, a fascinating old town, and a delicious food culture. And like most port cities, it has a few stories to share. So, of course, I've invited our resident Puglia expert, Paulo, back onto the show to give us a little peek inside Bari and let us know what we should do when we go there. So let's dive right in, shall we? Bentornato, Paolo. Ciao, and welcome back to the Untold Italy podcast.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao. How wonderful to have you back on the show again. It's been way too long. What have you been up to lately?
Working, but in a good way. I like having people showing around. I still really enjoy a lot having guests.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Puglia is just such a welcoming place. I love it. Now, Paolo, we've gotten to know each other pretty well over a few years, but some people listening might not have been introduced to you. So could you please share your story and what you do?
Okay, I'm a tour guide and also now work as a travel consultant. I've started having the idea of working in this kind of business when I went to university in 1996. Tourism back then was absolutely not an option. I still remember my mom in tears when I announced that I wanted to study art history and history. But now, after so many years, I work as a tour guide basically all year long. I don't need to do any other things because before in the wintertime, I had to work, in a farmhouse. I've done so many things to basically earn enough for the year. But now this is what I do.
Mum's okay now.
Yeah, Mum's okay.
Mama is fine. We love having Paolo with us on tour with us in Puglia. He's so much fun and truly a wealth of knowledge about Puglia, which from a tourist perspective isn't as well advanced as places like the Amalfi Coast. And that's actually why we love it. But today we're going to talk about a city that's perhaps not as celebrated as some of the other towns and villages and cities of the Puglia region, but it's definitely very interesting if you like history, culture and food. And so, Paolo, shall we let everyone in on the little secret that is Bari?
Yeah, I love Bari. I'm very careful when I suggest people to go to Bari because you have to be well prepared because it's a big place. There's a lot of people, can be like a mess. If you're not used to southern Italy, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's so much fun. And now it's also very safe. There's a lot of new places because it gets more and more used to have guests. But I think it's fantastic. I think that if you really want to understand the spirit of Puglia or southern Italy, I think the Bari is definitely the best place.
So maybe we should tell everyone exactly where it is and why it's an important city in Puglia and Italy.
Bari is important, first of all, because it's centrally located. It's like in the center of the region and is the center of the railway system. There's the airport. There's a big port. So if you want to go to Croatia, Montenegro, Albania, Greece, you can go to Brindisi. But Bari is definitely the biggest place. They calculated about like 2 million people passing from Bari every day. So it's a really like a busy place. It's like the only place in Puglia where we have IKEA, if that makes sense. So we all go to Bari also for shopping. For us, it's like the biggest place for clothing, but also for like furniture. Bari is the place to go for us, but also is the place where they organize the biggest concerts, the biggest events. So it's always like a lot of opportunities in Bari.
It is. I think it's not so big though. Like, I mean, it is big and busy, but I think if you compare it to something like Naples, it's still not as crazy as Naples.
No. Because roughly you can say that it's like 250,000 people. The city itself, 500,000 if you consider the villages all around, but nothing like Naples. I usually say that it's like the polite Naples, like the civilized. It's easier than Naples. Now, I must confess something, Katy. I'm originally from Lecce. People from Lecce and people from Bari don't really get along. Actually, we don't understand each other. When we speak dialect, totally different. And because of football, there's a big rivalry. So I hope that nobody from my town is here listening to this podcast because I talk so well about Bari. They might hate me for that.
But they are very different, like just in so many ways. Like Lecce is kind of more refined and like a bit more elegant. So if you like that type of thing, then Lecce, you'll just like really love Lecce. But I love Bari too because it's really vibrant and exciting. And so maybe do you want to just tell everyone a bit about the history of Bari and how it's probably had its fortunes change a little bit over the centuries?
First of all, if you go to Bari, and especially the historical part of Bari, you immediately have a sense of the Middle Ages. Because the best of Bari, the old part, it's basically all developed during the Middle Ages. It's one of the main places that pilgrims used to go to on the way to Jerusalem. People of Bari managed to go to Turkey to steal the body of St. Nicholas, Santa Claus. And it's still there, still in Bari. It's still in the church dedicated, obviously, to St. Nicholas. And a lot of pilgrims still go to Bari to pray in front of the tomb of St. Nicholas. It's so connected for the same reason to Eastern European countries. Like I was in Bari yesterday and they were celebrating St. Nicholas. And it was so full of Greek Orthodoxes, little groups with their priests going to Bari to pray. So you feel really in Bari this atmosphere of like a bridge that connects Western Europe with Eastern Europe. And I think that is very fascinating. And also for people that are interested in architecture, the Romanesque style of the Middle Ages in southern Italy, it's basically born in Bari. So the Church of St. Nicholas is the very first example of the Romanesque style that then you can see in a lot of churches and castles all over the region. Then, like after the 1500s, the importance of Bari became less and less because of a big war that we had with the Ottoman Empire, and then became like the center of the region in more modern times as this central hub where you have everything. Like there's the biggest opera house, concerts, music, but also shopping. But is also the center of crime. Okay, like we had so many problems, and it's still a place where you have to be careful. Not in the city center anymore, but it's undoubtable that we have crime problems in Bari. But in the 90s, it was completely inaccessible. Like you literally couldn't go to Bari, especially in the old town. It was very, very dangerous. And I think that the worst moment was at the beginning of the 90s when they put fire on the opera house. That was probably the symbol of the worst moment that, Bari had. We started having a reaction at the beginning of 2000, like 2001. We had a guy called Michele Fazio, which is like a young boy that was killed. It was an innocent guy, innocent boy, killed by accident during like a crime shooting. And that is probably the beginning of a reaction that slowly has arrived in 2009 when they finally reopened the theater. And so we use, 1991 as like a lowest point, and 2009 as a symbol of the Renaissance. Now cruise ships are back in Bari. You can safely go to Bari. There is a lot of shops, a lot of cafes. It's like full of energy. It's a place that really it's really interesting. And it's, I think, the only place, at least in Puglia, that after World War II wasn't really emptied. Like if you visit Puglia, a lot of the historical centers have been emptied after World War II. People had the possibility of getting a new house, and so they moved out of the city center. In Bari, a lot of people have kept living in the old town. Okay, so you said like Lecce, it's more refined, but also because it's less crowded, the old town, than Bari. If you go to Bari, you see all the balconies with close lines, a lot of people sitting outside chatting, a lot of small shops fruit shops, fish market. It's more alive, and it's a place full of people that don't belong to like middle class or wealthy families. It's really simple families, and that give her a really like a strong character. Like what I love in Bari is to go for like food tours, even on my own, because especially in the evening there is a lot of old people frying things. Like Bari is famous for fried polenta, or they make like fried dough. So like you walk and you see these ladies well organized at the front of their house frying. When home restaurants became like popular, people of Bari said, "Oh, we do this since like so long ago," because like you can easily find like people that cook some pasta for you. There is a section where there's ladies making pasta all day in the middle of the street. So like it's really like unbelievable. It's a place so fantastic.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I have to say to everyone that, it obviously has a little bit of a dark past, but I felt completely safe in Bari, and I was walking around. It was just myself and Olivia, so it was two women, and we felt completely safe. And we did like trying the foods there. Oh, my goodness. Some of the best food I've had in Italy, like the crudo, the seafood, which is basically pugliese sushi, for want of a better word, is so fresh. And you can get the sea urchins. Do you know how much a sea urchin costs in like Australia, or like at a fancy restaurant? It's like $30, $40. I don't know. In Bari, €1.
Wow, yeah, it's true.
It's so good, and it's probably the freshest one you'll ever eat too. If you're up for it, not everyone's cup of tea. But the other thing I really love there, Paolo, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about it, is the mind blowing, literally focaccia. So amazing.
There are so many bakeries in Bari. I actually have a map of my favorite bakeries making focaccia. You know the secret. There's potatoes in the dough and a lot of olive oil. It's like a pizza, no? But it cooks in a pan with a lot of olive oil. So it's super crunchy and it's so soft inside thanks to the potatoes. And it's just cherry, tomatoes, and olives. Be careful, because we leave the pit in the olives. Every time you find something with olives, make sure that you don't too fast, because you might eat or crush your teeth with the olives. In the old town, the line for the bakeries to grab a slice of focaccia is always fun to watch.
Because it's fresh.
Yes.
And it's good. It's not even just good. It's like, seriously, people, I'm not joking. This is incredible stuff. And you actually go there and you've got the olive oil dripping down your chin and you don't care. You're like, why did I order one slice? I needed 4. But it's really delicious. Like, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, but so many things like the typical pasta that now is iconic in all Puglia. It's the orecchiette, which is this like little ears shaped pasta that we make with broccolini. We call them cime di rapa, which is like the top of the like broccoli rubs. With 1 anchovy, garlic, bay leaf, and lots of olive oil. That's super good. My favorite is the octopus panini, like especially for in a like public event, or there are some places where they grill octopus and they put it in a sandwich. So rustic, but so good. Well, I can stay here forever. If you don't stop me, I can talk about food forever.
Keep going, Paolo. No, it's really, I think the thing is, it's really fresh and it hasn't been modernized, shall we say? Like, it's kind of, no one's trying to be trendy or cool in Bari, really. They're just doing their thing and it is really delicious.
Yeah, and I think because I'm always concerned about the future of the area with this tourism that is growing so much. No, I think that what makes the difference in Bari is that there's a lot of locals there. So the quality of the recipes, the ingredients, it's kept fresh because a lot of locals, go still live in the old town. So there's not really restaurants in Bari that are just for tourists. And on top of that, there's a big university. There's a lot of people every day. They go for conventions, other stuff. So it's really like a place that is alive. It's not a place for tourists,
Yeah. So, I mean, we can eat a lot in Bari. It's so good. But what else can we do? You mentioned St. Nicholas, and I think that's such an interesting story, how they went and stole the bones. Maybe you can tell people about that.
It's in common with so many other places, like in Amalfi, there's St. Andrew, in Venice, there is a Mark. The idea of having an important saint to attract, the pilgrims on the way to Jerusalem, it was very important. So when the Arabs took over in Turkey and they started to control the eastern part of the Byzantine Empire, people of Bari, felt that they needed to save. Let's face it, they stole it. So they went to this town in Turkey, Mira, where St. Nicholas has actually lived his own life, to get the body. They calculated, I don't know who did it, like the 75% of the body. So they took basically the bigger bones and they brought them to Bari. Then the Venetians went to the same spot and got the rest. So if you go to Venice, you might find the 25% of St. Nicholas' body. And they immediately after, like in 2 years, they built this incredible church, which is huge for the standards of the Middle Ages on the seaside of Bari, with like an underground part, the crypt where the body is actually buried, and where pilgrims could, and they still do, could enter from one side, get out from the other side, and kept going to find a boat and go to the other side. What I really find interesting is that in the church, there's still this group of scholars that are trying to find connection more and more between the Catholics and the Greek Orthodoxes. So Bari is still very important for that. And like if you go to Bari, you can notice that the Church of St. Nicholas, the main church, it's used for the Catholic ritual, for the Mass. But in the crypt underground, there is a little chapel that is used by Greek Orthodoxes. So in the same spot, you have these two different religions. In reality, it's one that don't really, get along. But in Bari, they have a place where they can talk. I think that St. Nicholas in Bari has given this importance, this possibility of like a meeting point between East and West. The other curiosity, I think it's interesting. They collect money in Bari because St. Nicholas is the saint that protects women they want to get married. So if you have a daughter, you pray St. Nicholas, for a good marriage, and they still collect money to help to organize the wedding. So they celebrate St. Nicholas twice in Bari. The biggest celebration is in May, usually from May 7th to May 9th, and it's when basically St. Nicholas has arrived in Bari. So the procession is with this statue on a boat arriving in Bari, like remembering when the body has arrived, and in the Middle Ages. But the main celebration, where the one that is most famous all over, is in December, which is when they basically decide which family is going to get the money to organize the wedding. Yeah, they still do that. It's something that really is very important for the locals. It's still something that everybody believes in.
Oh, so how do they decide who gets the money?
There's like a little committee, obviously they have requests, but they in touch with these people all year long, so they know who actually needs to have support.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, I like that.
I think that's another thing that you immediately notice when you get to Bari is the strength of the community. It's still very important for us to have big families, but beyond the family, it's really like the community that can be, let's say, the neighborhood. So like people still share the street as a place of meeting. They really support each other. That doesn't mean that they love each other. Huh? So that's something that I want to underline. People usually think, oh, how nice, they love each other. No, not really. But they know that they need to be together. It's a sense of community, you belong to a group. It's like a family. You don't love everybody in your family, but you still feel that you're part of a family. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think that's the best way I've ever heard anyone describe that sense of community, because I think we have, maybe visitors might have some idea of what that is, and it's a bit what we would call lovey-dovey and all very there's no conflict or there's no dramas, but realistically, like in any family, there are going to be those ups and downs, and but it sounds like people pull together when they really need to.
When I try to explain this, I find it very difficult because we are very ourselves-oriented, no? So for instance, if I pursued happiness, I'm focused on myself, like my career, my relationship, it's always me. Instead, in places like Bari, people really think what's the best for my group? What's the best for my family? Okay. So it's really like a sense of identity, really more than just let's love each other. Because that probably by yourself you can't really make it. Instead, if you belong to a group, you can make it.
Yeah. So is there been some times when they've really had to pull together as a community to overcome? It sounds like in the 1990s things were pretty rough. So is that an example of when they really had to pull together to overcome their troubles?
I think that the lowest point was when they killed this boy by accident. It's Michele Fazio. He basically was walking in a neighborhood and he was killed by accident, when they were shooting. That shocked everybody because that was a moment when they realized that this crime situation was involving everybody and especially innocents. So that I think that for the first time told everybody this is something that we have to face together. It's not anymore something that we can say that, it's away from us. They felt that danger so close that slowly they started to react. If you go in the old town of Bari, it's really touching to, pass by the place where this boy was killed, because you really understand how narrow everything is, how close everything is to each other, and you probably get a better sense of how these people felt, because they felt we're not safe anymore. We have to do something.
Goodness, there's so many lessons for that, because I think people think that maybe that's like a really long tradition of community, but it sounds like it's fairly recent. Like they've decided that they really needed to pull together at this moment. It kind of gives me a bit of hope for the world, really, because, people can do it.
See, I think that what changes is when you think that you are completely isolated from the others, no? When you realize that your life instead it's involved and it's connected to the people around you, then you realize that you need to do something. That to change, for instance, the safety of a place. It's not something that you have to wait that the government solve, but it's something that you have to do it in your family first. I don't know if that makes any sense. I probably was a little confusing, but yeah, like we always try to think about our little world. Instead, I think in Bari at a certain point they realized that their world was connected to the rest, and they had to do something to react. Crime wasn't something else, was so close to them.
There's quite a few examples of that really in the region, isn't there? Even in Matera, which is not in Puglia, but close by. So that sense of communities people have had to get on with it. And there's some beautiful things that have happened because of that. And Bari is is so fun. And what I love is the contrast in Bari between the old town and like the new. It's a little bit fancy, isn't it? Like with this wide boulevard.
Absolutely. If you, I think if you go to Bari by train, you have a perfect sense of what you're saying. Because the train station, you walk off, and in front of you, you have this beautiful street full of super fancy shops. Now pedestrian, full of cafes. It's called Via Sparano. That goes all the way to the old town. And when you get to the old town, you see how dramatic is the changes, because you go from an area that is precisely straight with this beautiful boulevards and full of beautiful buildings from the 1800s, and then you enter like a completely different world. Like you jump back in the past the moment you cross Corso Vittorio Emanuele, which is the other big street before you enter the old town.
Yeah, it's really cool. I loved it. I had to walk very fast from the station because we were running late for something, but I still managed to appreciate the contrast between those beautiful wide streets and the old town. And I love that type of thing. And you can also walk along the seafront, can't you? That's really lovely now too, the Lungomare.
There's so many areas in Bari. You don't necessarily need to be in the historical center, to have a nice experience. There's a lot of little sections. For instance, the seafront, it's beautiful. If you go there in the morning, there's a lot of people running. There's the old fish market that is super cool to go and watch. They have this tradition of catching the octopus and then beating on the rock to make it softer. It's really like another world. Also, at nighttime, there's a lot of nice places where you can go for an aperitivo, for a drink, and you don't feel a tourist. Like you feel really part of an alive place and live city.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And there's not really any, well, there are a few big hotels, but most of it's really B&Bs and small little family-run hotels, isn't it? So you've got a really nice atmosphere.
Yeah, it's changing, I have to say. In the last 5 years, I already saw so many things changing. In the past, the only big hotels were basically for business. Like if you're looking for a nice hotel with a garden, probably you'll be a little disappointed. But things are changing, and more of these small B&Bs are trying to fill up this gap. Because again, tourism is becoming more and more important. Things are changing very quickly, but you don't have a big offer of big hotels like like in other places. Not yet, at least.
And another really lovely thing about Bari is you can jump on the train and go to a few nice places like Monopoly and Polignano. And it's not a super fast train. So you just have to chill out and relax on this train. But, if you're looking for a slow travel experience, this is not a bad base because you can reach quite a few places from Bari.
See, I totally agree. Well, you can also go to Lecce. The fast train, it's an hour and 20 minutes, so not too much. The trains are new, very comfortable. I myself travel always bringing my bike because you can do that with regional trains. So you can travel with your own bike if you want to explore more. But you can also go north of Bari. Like there is a little town, well, it's not that little, which is Trani, that I really love. And it's super easy because the train station is not that far from the old town. And so you get off the train, it's a nice walk, and you can explore the old town. There's also Barletta, which is nice, Molfetta, Giovinazzo, Bitonto, so many places also north of Bari, and all easy to reach by train.
Can you get to the Gargano Peninsula there? Because that's on my wish list.
By train, it's a little longer. By car is much easier. By car, you can go along the coast. You can go through the Salines, stop for a hike to see the flamingos. You can also enjoy the Gargano area more by car because there's the road from Mattinata to Vieste, for instance, is really spectacular. Very scenic, and also to drive up, there's this forest. For us, is like another world because Puglia is, fairly flat, and then all of a sudden this Gargano area is like 1,000 meters above the sea level, with the sea on one side. It's always been attractive for also religious purposes. There's this place. It's actually a UNESCO site called Monte Sant'Angelo. There was a place used by the pilgrims on the way to Jerusalem always, but also Padre Pio. Have you ever heard of Padre Pio?
Yes, I've heard of Padre Pio. You might need to explain it to other people.
So Padre Pio was a monk that lived in the Gargano area, and he was a very controversial figure because he claimed to have stigmatas. He was very popular. Like my mom met him because he died in 1968. So local people, simple people loved him because he used to give a lot of good, suggestions and help to so many people. He opened also a big hospital, which is very important in Puglia. And the church at the beginning fought against him because they thought that he was not real, imposter, yeah. Now instead he's a saint, so you can see his places. See, the Gargano area is like another world.
So for people that don't know, the stigmatas is the marks of when Christ was on the cross. So don't ask me how I know that because my religious education is quite limited. But that, if you didn't know that, that's what it is. And so obviously people were quite intrigued as to how that happened. So back to Bari, let's go back. I mean, what we're saying is there are so many places you can go to from Bari that you could use it as a base, but you should definitely stop in Bari. Is there some favourite things to do there that we haven't mentioned yet, Paulo?
Well, one thing, it's opera. Like I really suggest people to go to the opera house. There's so many theaters in Bari, but especially one called Petruzzelli, very iconic. Because they put fire on it in the 90s, so it was a big, tragedy for the locals. Now has been reopened like 15 years ago, and I think to have an idea of what opera is for the Italians, it's definitely like good to go and actually, watch a show to see like all the Italians well dressed going there. The atmosphere. I think it's a wonderful experience.
Is it goes all through the year or has specific seasons?
It's mostly in the winter. It's not really in the summer because obviously it's too hot. But Bari is a place where there's so many like music concerts, theater events. Obviously, if you don't know the language, the choice is a little limited. But like music concerts, a lot of live music events. That's also fun to see. There's a lot of festivals in the streets. That's really cool to get part of the atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. You were there in Bari for the St. Nicholas a couple of days ago. What was happening in the streets then?
That's kind of similar to like when it's like a big celebration for the saint. When you go there, you see there's a lot of posters with the program. So for 3 days, usually they have a series of events. Now they make a difference between the religious events and the traditional events. So you have usually a procession. The one in May, it's on the boat. Then the statue stays like on a sort of an altar in the square with all the lights for 1 day. There is an entire section where you see kind of a little market where there's everything from craftsmen to clothing to street food. There is fireworks. There is this temporary lights. We're very big in that. They put these temporary lights by placing big beams, like big posts, vertically attached with wires on the buildings. And then they place on this structure, a lot of round shapes make of wood full of little lights. Now is LED lights, so they can make even bigger things with very bright colors. And they decorate the streets and the squares with these lights. So even just to see the place full of lights, it's really like amazing.
Yeah, that is a thing specific to Puglia, these beautiful lights. They're so amazing. I think Sicily might be trying to borrow them because I saw some in Catania, but it's really what you see in Puglia. It's so spectacular. I can't explain it. There's not a lot of photos of it around either, so they keep it to themselves for some reason.
If you want to see the most extreme example, you can look on like a YouTube for Scorrano. Scorrano is a little village where 3 of the biggest companies making these lights have a massive event in July, and the amount of lights, it's like really outstanding. And they use it as like a showcase because they rent their lights for the different religious events that each city hall organizes.
It's beautiful. It's hard to explain. I know in Lecce, one of the big, I think it was Yves Saint Laurent, one of those, like they had a big fashion show where they had it and they had a very elegant version of that. It was so, oh my gosh, it was amazing. So there's so many things. Yeah, definitely get to Bari during a festival. That sounds amazing. I'd love to be there.
There's the castle, the cathedral. There is the Church of St. Nicholas. A lot of beautiful architecture, but at the end of the day, what you will feel, fall in love in Bari is really the atmosphere. Like so many people around, walking, enjoying. That is what really it's really impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I just loved Bari. It's fun. It's got a really nice vibe. And let's not forget that life-changing focaccia. That was something else. Oh, thank you for sharing beautiful Bari with us, Paolo. I know that the Untold Italy listeners would love to stay in touch with you and learn some more. What is the best way that they can do that?
See, they can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on my website, which is apuliahandmade.it. Like even WhatsApp. They on my website there's my WhatsApp number, so they can hit me on with a message, and I'll be happy to help if they want to plan their trip to Puglia.
We know that you do a very good job, and that's why we love working with you. And anyway, so grazie Paolo. Thank you so much for joining us on Untold Italy again. We love having you on.
Grazie.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Goodness, Puglia is so beautiful and so interesting. Hearing some of those tragic moments from the region's past is a real contrast to what visitors experience today. Bari is so much fun and so real, and for those of you who've been listening for a while, you know I don't really like the word authentic, but we can use it here. And I loved it. I was taught how to roll orecchiette by one of the ladies in the street there, and I have to say I was absolutely awful at it. But, of course, the ladies make it look so easy with a flick of their wrist and their nimble fingers. Before I went to Bari, I was wondering if this street pasta rolling was a bit of a tourist trap, but it's really genuine. The ladies love sitting out and chatting to each other and anyone who wanders past. It's a lot of fun, and you know what? I don't know about you, but I don't line up for very much these days, but I would stand in line for an hour for that fresh out of the oven focaccia. It's pretty life-changing, I have to say. Now, Bari is an important stop on our tours of Puglia, and actually our spring tour of Puglia is departing in just a few days, with Paulo joining us, of course. If you'd like to follow along, we do post stories on our Instagram account at Untold Italy Tours. This tour is very popular and sold out well in advance for this year's departures. So we have 4 trips to Puglia running in 2025, and they are half full already. So if you are keen to join us, get in touch and we can send you the details. But as always, we've provided the tour information, Paolo's details, and all the places mentioned in this episode in our comprehensive show notes at untolditaly.com/224 for episode 224. We're really proud of these notes because we spend a lot of time on them, and we do this because we want you to be able to relax and listen to the episode. Plus, it can be very tricky trying to jot down Italian names when you're on the go. I'm sure you will agree. Grazie mille. Thank you for your ongoing support of Untold Italy. We truly appreciate all of you, our listeners, from joining us from around the world. If you have a spare moment, we would so appreciate it if you left us a 5-star rating and review on your favourite podcast app. That way we can reach more Italy-loving travellers just like you and raise the profile of our wonderful guests like Paulo, who you heard today. Next week, we're exploring some mistakes travellers make when planning trips to Italy. This is a follow-up episode from one we did a couple of years ago, number 120 if you're interested, and I was surprised that there are quite a few things to add. So tune in next week for that information, and until then, it's ciao for now.
The Untold Italy podcast is an independent production. Podcast editing, audio production and website development by Mark Hatter, production assistance and content writing by the other Katy Clarke. Yes, there are 2 of us. For more information about Untold Italy, please visit untolditaly.com.